Hi, my name is Lindsay Chambers, and I am focusing on the population of refugees and their health concerns. First, a description of refugee I got from the National Immigration Forum. It states a refugee is a person outside the country of his or her nationality who is unable or unwilling to return to that country because of persecution or fear of persecution based on his or her race, religion, nationality, being part of a social group, or a political opinion. There were 26.4 million refugees displaced worldwide in 2020. 11,814 of those refugees came to the United States last year, and then 261 refugees arrived in Utah in 2020. The majority of refugees placed recently are from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The difference in numbers between state and national refugees is pretty obvious, that all the refugees wouldn't be placed in the same area. Most refugees are placed near their families if they have any. Utah has resettled over 15,000 refugee cases since 1995, which is 24th in the 49 states that refugees are placed. Texas is the most common and has resettled the most refugees. Contributing factors of health for the refugee population, some of the social determinants that are applicable are of having economic stability. Of course, when they first come over, they have no resources for food, clothing, they don't have an immediate source of income, they don't have access to transportation, or they have limited transportation outside of foot. Their healthcare access and quality is also a determinant. They may have untreated health problems or illnesses that have been neglected when they have been refugees or while they are leaving their country and fleeing their country. They're unable to understand or communicate well with providers here or able to express what is wrong with them. They are uninsured and unable to afford health care. Education is also a determinant of their health. They will have most likely some language barriers. Their literacy in English might be decreased depending on the amount of education they have and where they have come from. Many children are refugees, and so they aren't receiving adequate education. Employment opportunities are also going to be limited because of the education that they have, depending on where they came from. They just may not have had the opportunity to learn a trade or a skill, and that limits their employment opportunities. Refugees do receive assistance when they are accepted into the state. They receive some cash, medical access, language and employment services are also available. But that takes a while for everything to get underway. And because of that, the main determinant for refugees is social and community determinant of health. They're isolated from their friends and family, and community. There'll be different culture changes and differences that can cause delays in feeling accepted or at home. Some may experience discrimination and prejudices. They are fleeing because they are being persecuted. So they will have fear and distress associated to why they're fleeing, and lack of safety in order to, which is causing them to flee. They also are going to lose their home and their valuables and their irreplaceable items. There will be loss and sadness and concern that will come from that. All of those are going to affect their social and mental health and community. The root cause is pretty well understood as the refugee population, they are being persecuted, or their fear of persecution or fear of violence, and so they are fleeing due to feeling unsafe to avoid those persecutions or being victims of violence. So that is the root cause of their social impact, or the social determinant of health. So the base tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the physiological needs, which should be met for the most part after the refugee is resettled. They're provided with those resources like we talked about earlier: cash, a home, support services to get them started, employment and language services, some medical care. So that is pretty much met. The second tier should be mostly met concerning safety. They are fleeing their country due to persecution or fear of persecution. So once they have arrived are resettled and have a home and those basic needs provided through the relocation program, then their safety should be increasing. They should feel more safe, but their mental health and their physical health, employment, being fully employed, those and feeling welcome and at ease at home might still not be met initially. So I'm going to say that the second tier of safety was probably only partially met. So the additional tiers of love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization will not be met, at least in the initial time frame when the refugees are relocated. So the anticipational functional level is they're still going to be in the survival mode. They're still going to have high levels of stress. There's still going to be concerns of feeling welcome and meeting their employment and feeling well adjusted. So there's not going to be a lot of growth at this time. Their likely health outcomes are going to be as a result of high stress, suppressed immune system, weight loss or weight gain, and then mental illness can all be affected by the high stress. For communicable diseases or infections, they are at a high risk just because they're being relocated, so they're going to be exposed to different strains of viruses and communicable diseases. They also will have a weakened immune response related to their high stress. In order to prevent communicable diseases, you do basic things you do for any communicable disease. You're going to have good hand hygiene. You're going to avoid others who are sick. You're going to stay home when you're sick so you don't spread it. You're going to get adequate sleep and good nutrition. You're going to disinfect and clean the home. Avoid touching your eyes and mouth and spreading germs that way. Non-communicable diseases or infections that the refugees might be exposed to really is just on their stress levels. There are many consequences of having high levels of stress. They can have risk for heart attack, hypertension, high cholesterol, and then their increased risk for mental illness is also high just because of their fear. They're fleeing their country. They're going to have feelings of loss and sadness and displacement associated with being a refugee. And the best thing that they can do is find a support system, do daily physical activity, again, get adequate amounts of sleep, and all of those things can help decrease stress and improve the mental stability. Especially a support system will be able to help with any physical ailments as well. For self-harm and self-care, I think that there could be some contributing factors, nothing significant, but just because of that increased stress and those feelings of loss and depression, anxiety could lead to a decrease in self-care, but there's no indication that self-harm would increase. They're fleeing for their lives, so my indication is that they value their lives and they are not in that frame of mind, just stress. Same for risk for from harm from others or to others. They are fleeing the people that they're afraid of harming them, that are threatening them, and there's no indications that they would be more likely to harm others. And then these are my references.